please figure, please multiply it. What do you have? What do you have? So there's a mistake here. So this
5.
should be, yeah, this should be times, this should be times, this should be times the number numbers of shares, not the nominal value, right? I just saw it now. My apologies for that, right? So it's supposed to be times the numbers of shares, right? Times what? So what do we have, class? What do we have? When you multiply, what do we have?
106 naira.
106, right?
106.25 kobo.
Okay, 106, 106, 106, right? 25 cover, right? Now, this is the value of the convertible. Then the redemption, which is the redeemable, is already what? 100, right? So the higher of the two. So the value of the convertible here is 106, right? The value of convertible is 106 naira 25 kobo. Of course, if you are the lender, you will like to choose, you will want to choose the higher, which is what? The convertible. And the question says that determine the convertible bond, right? And this is the convertible value of the what? Of the bond, not cost. If they say we should determine the cost, they would have given us some kind of other ingredients. The what is it called? The tax rate, the interest rate. Of course, the interest rate is given here, the market price and all that. They would have given us. But in this question, it's what is the value of the what? Of the convertible what? Of the convertible bond, right? Which is stated in the what in the question. And the value of the convertible bond is 106 naira 25 kobo. Please unmute your mic if you have question before I create another link. Please unmute your mic and ask your question. Thank you. I'm waiting. Question. So are we good? Hello? Hello? Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes, we are good.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So this is 7 minutes. Okay. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Okay. Now, if that is established as well, this is the cost of preference shares, right? The cost of what? Cost of preference shares, right? Now, what is preference shares? Don't forget that in some companies' financial statements, you will see preference shares as long-term liability. Sometimes you will see it as equity instruments, right? Depends on what is it called, how the company classify it. Is it redeemable preference shares or irredeemable preference shares, right? Now, why do we have to classify preference shares? Some students will like, oh, we call it a preference share, so why do we have to classify it as debt, right? The reason being because you give preference, right? You give you give preference to who? To the preference shareholders, right? Before the ordinary shareholders. You give them preference first before the ordinary shareholders. Now, any person that you are giving a preference before the ordinary shareholder automatically is a debt, which means that you you must settle one debt before you go for one another, right? There is an obligation there for you to say, oh, you have to settle these people, you have to give them preference. Definitely, it has element of debt instrument, it has element of debt. So that is why they say, oh, you classify the cost of preference shares as what? As a debt, right? Then when you see it in what is it called? When you see it in companies financial, it could be redeemable preference shares, right? Right, under equity instruments, right? Now, Under the what is it called? Under the cost of capital or the cost of debt, the cost of preference shares will be classified as a long-term debt, right? Why? Because you are giving some people preference before the ordinary. So when you are giving people preference before the ordinary shareholder, that is what make it what a debt, because definitely there is an obligation. Class, are we still together? So the cost of preference shares is calculated as KP equals to dividend divided by the what? Divided by the market value as div. Class, dividend divided by the what? Market value as div. Right? That is what gives what? The cost of preference shares. Don't forget that we've explained this market value as div. As div means dividend has been paid. Dividend have been paid, right? That is SDIV. Cum div means that the dividend is yet to be paid. So when you are given cum div, that is, the company's dividend is yet to be paid. So that dividend is what? Is cum div. You need to convert it to what? So market value SDIV, which it is calculated as the nominal value of the what is it called? The market price, sorry, the market price of the ordinary shares minus the what? The outstanding what? Outstanding dividend. We give you what? The market value what? As div. So that is why we actually classify cost of preference shares as what? As a debt instrument, because when you look at some company financial, it will classify some company classify as what? As a long-term debt. Why? Because it is irredeemable preference shares. Irredeemable what? Preference shares. So, and that is all about cost of what? Preference shares. So another thing is the cost of debenture, which is loan notes. It could be they can use it interchangeably in the question, right? It could be what is it called? Loan notes or debenture, right? So the cost, of course, it is a cost, right? So interest one minus tax rate divided by the market value what? As interest, right? We already know how to determine the market value as interest, the nominal value of the debt minus what? Minus the interest rate. We give you a what? The market value as interest. If they say, oh, the interest is what? Is yet to be paid, right? And this is all about what? Traded what? Traded what? Traded debt. Don't forget that traded debts are debts that can be traded in the what? In the capital what? Market, right? You can determine the market value of that what? That particular what? Debt. Why non-traded debt? You can't determine the market value of that traded debt, right? And an example of it is what? Bank loan. Bank loan is a sources of finance. Don't forget that all these uh, equity debt are all sources of finance, right? Are all what? Sources of finance. So how do you determine the cost of non-traded debt, which is bank loan, right? It's calculated as the cost of bank loan is calculated as what? Interest one minus tax rate. Why do we have to use this? We're supposed to divide it by the market value. Why? It is because you can't determine the market value of what? Of a bank loan. It is just an interest rate, and it is being determined by the central bank. Let's say, for instance, now the current MPR is about, I think it's about 28%, 28 or 26%. Why bank will be lending at the rate of 30 to 31%, because they also want to make what? Profit, right? So the cost will be interest rate one minus tax what? Rate, and that is the cost of what? Bank loan. So let me quickly create another link so that we can join. Then that one you can ask your question. Thank you.